Hi everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to the Router Freak Cisco CCENT certification video series. My name is Joe Wilson, and I'm going to be with you as we go through some of the topics of the Cisco CCENT certification, the ICND 1 and 2, as well as the Cisco certification in general. Um, my name is Joe Wilson again, and I'm a CCNP, CCDA, CCNA. I even had my Microsoft MCSE way back with the Windows 2000 series. Um, have been in the industry for quite a long time, dating back to oh geez, I was in the Air Force in 1982, went into communications, got out, and then worked Novell Networks for a while. I was Novell certified, sorry, at that point, and then later became Microsoft certified, and then finally Cisco certified. Um, I'm really glad to be teaching this class. This class is not your typical training. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes. This is not scripted. Um, I am not a fancy guru of Cisco networks. I am a senior network engineer by day, and have been working in the industry for over 20 years. Um, and I've seen a lot of changes with the Cisco certification tests and Cisco certifications exams. Um, I think the fact that you're watching this video is a great idea because it shows that you're interested in possibly becoming Cisco certified, and you understand the value that these certifications hold. Right now there's a huge demand for by employers for certifications, and not just from Cisco, but from a lot of different manufacturers and vendors. I think Novell was probably the first vendor to actually really gain popularity with their CNE exam, and then Microsoft quickly took that ball and ran with it, and then finally Cisco. Um, and The exam, Cisco, though, I have to say, has got to be out of all three, probably the most challenging exams that you can take. Back in 2007, there were some pretty large changes that occurred to the CCNA program. A lot of people were getting their CCNAs, and Cisco felt that they really wanted to make it a bit harder. But they also they didn't want to alienate new students or new people coming in and learning about networking. So what they did is they introduced the Cisco Certified Entry Networking Technician certification. It's kind of a mouthful, but essentially it's a one test that you can take, and you get your CCENT cert, and it's designed for entry level network engineers coming into the field to get a good understanding of routers and switches and networking in general, and then later move on to more advanced technologies. At the same time, what Cisco did back in 2007 when they introduced CCENT, they also made the CCNA itself, they made it harder. And what they did was, back then, a lot of people, a lot of engineers that were in the industry, professionals in the industry, employers started seeing a lot of paper CCNAs or paper MCSEs. That was a big one. Was back when Microsoft. Um, a lot of the Microsoft system admins, system engineers, were really frustrated because a lot of people were just getting an MCSE, just a piece of paper, because all it was a series of tests. There was no um, real practical nothing, no, there wasn't any simulation to it. There wasn't anything that showed real world scenarios to test to test engineers. So what Cisco did is they decided to change that, and they made the CCNA test harder by adding simulations of routers to truly prove whether someone knew what they were talking about. They added real-world testing for new engineers coming into the field. Now the Cisco certification track now, as it stands today, is it begins with the CCENT, then moves on to the CCNA, and then after that, once you get your CCNA, that lays the foundation for a number of different specialties depending on where you want to go. If you want to stick with standard routing and switching, then the CCNP would be the direction you would want to take, followed by voice technologies, going with a CCNA voice. Cisco recently added the CCNA voice certification as a precursor to the CCVP. They also have the CCNA wireless and CCNA security. Now, the CCWP and CCIE wireless, those are proposed tracks, and I don't believe that they're in full swing yet, but there's a lot of changes that have been coming down. Cisco just recently announced changes to the CCNP, where previously it used to be 4 tests. You had a routing test, a switching test, you had an ONT, which is optimizing Cisco networks, and then you had ICND, which was essentially security. Some cable technologies and RFCs were in there. But there were 4 tests. They recently, matter of fact, in July of 2010, there will be only 3 tests now, and they've reduced it to just a routing test, a switching test, and a troubleshooting test. And then finally you go on to your IE track, which is your internet working expert, which is the top kahuna of all of them, where you have the routing and switching CCIE, voice CCIE, security CCIE, and wireless CCIE. So with the CCENT certification, you can take one test, which is the ICND1, and with that test, you're going to be expected to know these basic networking principles. You need to be able to describe the operation of a data network. You need to be able to understand how to implement a small switch network. You need to understand how to implement IP addressing on the network and services that use IP addressing. You need to understand how to implement a small routed network. You need to understand wireless and WAN connectivity, as well as setting up basic network security. Now, to go back to the previous slide, you could just skip the CCENT altogether, and you could just take one test. Just take a CCNA test. They have one test just for CCNA. It's a much harder test, and really was designed for CCNA recertification. You could take the one, or you can split it up into 2. It's kind of a personal choice. I've seen people think both ways are better. I've seen some people think that splitting it up into 2 tests is better. I've heard from other people that the one test, just the CCNA test, is all you need. It's up to you. It depends on your level of comfort with the networking technologies. If you're brand new to computers, if you're brand new to networking, and then I would suggest going for your CCENT first, and then going for your CCNA. Take the ICND1, then take the ICND2. Either way, it's not you'll get a certification out of it no matter what. The CCNA is a higher level, but you got to understand the CCNA is going to be a much harder test. There will be simulations, network simulations, where you actually get in and configure a router. If you've never configured a router before, then maybe the CCNA, going straight for the CCNA, may not be the best path for you. So it's up to you. It's a personal choice. In this course, though, what we're going to focus on is just the CCENT objectives, and an introduction to networking and making sure that you understand um, what is expected of you for the ICND one and the CCENT certification. So, what I would suggest as we go through this course is to succeed with CCENT is to watch these videos several times and practice the labs and the tutorials several times. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Especially if you're not working full time as a network technician, or if you're not in IT now and you're wanting to get into IT or you're wanting to get into a network position, then I would suggest uh, just going over these tutorials over and over again and making up scenarios, making up your own networks. In some other videos we have on routerfreak.com, we have some other videos that talk about GNS3. GNS3 is a global network simulator. It's free. It's free to download. We give you all the links, and we even give you the tutorials on how to install GNS3 and get it up and running. With GNS3, you can create a very complex network and get all your simulations all running on your desktop or laptop. If you prefer, if you'd rather not do that, some people would just assume get their own router. eBay is a great place to find used routers that work just fine, and with those routers you'll be able to get your CCENT and your CCNA. Now, through this course, what I also suggest is take notes. Treat this like a real class if you can. As many ways that you can allow the information to be absorbed into your body. When you hear my voice, when you see the slides and you see the video simulations, as you follow along with me during the simulations and during the labs, if you take notes as you write down the words, each one of those is an input into your body, into your mind, so you can remember this information. So you'll be able to have it, so you'll be able to know it, and then when you're tested on it, you'll be able to spit that back out onto the test and be able to pass it. Some people like flashcards. Some people prefer to write down some of the topics and then have their mother, brother, wife, husband, whoever it is, quiz them with the flashcards. That works too. There's a number of ways. And then finally, there's test simulators that we'll get into here in a little bit. When you're preparing to take the exam, Cisco themselves have a lot of things online that'll let you fully understand the objectives of the CCENT. If we go over here, let me pull up a browser real quick, and here's the Cisco. Here we're on Cisco's website, and if you see this URL, it's learningnetwork.cisco.com. Cisco's been changing things up quite a bit on their website. What I would suggest you do, so if you just come here and you just go to cisco.com, when you're on Cisco, just come here to this training and events, and then you can go to, I wouldn't say go to courses. That's not, let's go back. They change things up a lot, and what I want to show you is just how to get there just straight away. What I would do is when you hover over training events, just come down here and click on CCENT. That would be the easiest, and that'll take you to the objectives, and you'll see exactly what Cisco is requiring of you to pass the ICND 1 exam. Now, if you click on this ICND 1, I think that takes you to the learning network. Yeah, it does. Okay, so here we are, and in here, what this gives us is a lot. They have a lot of really good information. So here's the test. It's 90 minutes, 40 to 50 questions. They even have an exam to review the different types of exam tutorials, and this is really interesting. Watch this. We're going to launch this exam tutorial, And this will give you an idea of exactly what the exam is like. Um, when you get to the testing center and you're sitting down there to take the test, it's going to look very much like this. And you'll have multiple choice. You'll have little mini quizzes they're called. There's a lot of different types of scenarios. Like here's multiple choice, but not in a radio button. But here you need to choose 3 out of these. Now, a long time ago, it used to be they used to say choose all that apply, and that was really it was a lot more difficult. So they changed that up and said, okay, now we want you to choose 3. So if this was, what's an operating system? Well, you may be like, okay, well, Apple's an operating system, Linux. Well, Microsoft makes the operating system. So you got to understand with these questions are what's the best answer, and also what's the best answer from Cisco's point of view. It's very key. Some other different. This is another example of a type of question you're going to get, where you have these drag and drop. Um, where you have a list of items, and then you got to kind of drag them and drop them so they line up with each other. So layer 3 protocol, IP, what's a routing protocol, BGP, IGRP, RIP. And we'll go through these and you'll understand these a little bit more. But this is a great example of, now this is, from what I understand, this is no longer on the test. This fill in the blank style is, they've removed this, but what they've replaced it with is this. This is a simulation. This is what the simulations look like. This is where when you click on, you can click on this little computer. Notice it's got like a little dotted line. It's like a console connection to this router. If you click on it, it actually brings up a router, and you are asked to go in and actually do the configuration. Here they're saying, okay, change the host name of lab A to router A. And so you actually need to do that. And when you're done, click yes and to continue, and you go on to the next question. You'll get exams like this. This is another one, a little mini test. But notice over here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There are actually 4 questions for this scenario. So you'll read the scenario up here. You'll answer number 1. Then you hit number 2, answer number 2, answer number 3. If you click next, you'll miss 2, 3, and 4. So make sure you watch what you're doing when you're going through some of these exams, because they can be a little tricky. And partial credit is given, and not all the questions are have the same value. The simulations are worth more than, say, the multiple choice. So do your best to answer them as best you can. Here's another one where you kind of have a scenario here on the side. You have the topology, and then you have multiple questions up here. So there's a lot of different, and then again you have a simulation where you're actually in there and you're doing the changes. Here they're wanting to know, okay, what's the interface IP address? So you get in there and you actually, what do? You do a show run, right? Do a show run to look for the answer. And we'll learn about that, and we're going to go over all that, and I'll show you how to do that. If you don't know what any of this means or what we're talking about, don't worry. We'll go over it, and you'll understand. By the time this course is over, you will understand what we're talking about. So some of the things, you want to go out to cisco.com/certification, review the CCENT objectives, understand what is going to be asked of you, okay? Then when it comes time, you go to Pearson View. Here's their website. You want to go to view.com/Cisco, and you schedule a test online. It'll give you, their site will show you testing centers in your area that you can go take the test. Give yourself about 2 weeks in advance before you schedule it. Make sure you're good and ready to prepare for the test. Some people like practice exams. Some people don't. Me personally, I like the practice exams. They really get you in the mindset of taking the test. Some other people don't like them because, well, uh, a lot of people feel that if the way these practice exams are, they're not exactly they're not exactly like the real thing, meaning you don't have the drag and drops and you don't have the simulation in these practice exams. They're only multiple choice. So, but the thing that's nice about the practice exams is that the scenarios and a lot of the questions are worded exactly how you would expect or what you're going to expect on the test on the exam. So I highly recommend them. I would if I were you, I would go for the practice exam if I were you. So okay, and then finally the big day. Here we are, the big day. You've we've been through the course. You've studied. You've scheduled the test. It's the day of the test. One thing you want to do: get there early, 15 minutes early. I would say at least get there. Make sure you use the restroom. There's nothing like being in the middle of the test and you've got to go to the bathroom. Some testing centers won't let you go to the bathroom. They won't let you leave. Most will. Every one I've been in and I've had to take an exam, I've had to go to the bathroom. Usually I schedule them in the morning and I've had too much coffee and next thing I know in the middle of the exam I've got to go. And you know, it's fine, but now you're you only have 90 minutes. You got 90 minutes to do your questions, and so you're going to use 2 or 3 of those minutes to go to the bathroom. So you want to make sure that you use every bit of your time as wisely as you can. Take a little drink before you go in, so you're not parched, or maybe have a piece of gum that you can chew on to make sure that your mouth doesn't get all dried up. When you get there, they're going to ask you for your ID, and they're going to give you 2 pieces of paper and a pencil. They may give you 2 pencils, but at a minimum, they're going to give you 2 pieces of paper and a pencil, and that's all you get to take in with you. Nothing else. No cell phones, nothing else. Everything else stays outside the testing center. When you sit down, the proctor will they won't start the test, but they will start the computer. You'll be in a testing environment. You'll have the opportunity to take a pre-test survey. You'll have the opportunity to do a pre-test simulation to kind of get you ready. The clock doesn't start until you click Start Test. So before any of that happens, what I would suggest you do is you get down there and you take your piece of paper and your pencil and do a brain dump. Write down as much as you can. Write down the OSI model. Write down TCP/IP subnets. Write down the different classes, Class A, Class B, Class C. Write down your private IP space. Write down everything and anything that you can that you've got in your mind. Write it down on that piece of paper. That way you don't have to think about it anymore. That way all you have to do is just when you get to a question and you see, okay, what is a private IP space, you can just look down at your piece of paper and go, okay, it's A, B, and C. Those are your private IP addresses, and boom, you move on, and you knock out the easy questions. One thing you got to remember though, on Cisco exams, you cannot go back. Once you've answered a question, you've answered it, and you can't go back. You can't skip a question either. You can't skip the question, move on, and then go back. You either answer it. If you don't, and you move on, you got it wrong. So if anything, don't obsess on the question. Answer the question. Pace yourself, but don't obsess. Okay, and answer every question you can, and be persistent. Try to get through as much as you can. If you've finished the question, if you finished the simulation, you've done as much as you think you could do, move on. You'll be fine. And if you don't pass it, well, hey, you don't pass it. But you know what? They'll tell you what areas you're weak in. They'll tell you what areas you're strong in, and then you'll be fine. So that's about it for this first module for the introduction to CCENT. We're real excited. I'm real excited, and I hope that you're going to get a lot out of this. Again, my name's Joe Wilson, and we'll see you in the next module as we go through the Cisco CCENT exam.